It gives me a great pleasure and honor to be here with you today. I was one of these young people in Syria whom their dreams were vanished in the war. It was an unforgettable experience witnessing the University of Aleppo explosion in January 2013, where at least 82 people were killed. Several of them were friends of mine. I had just graduated from the University of Aleppo with a major in business administration. I was also employed as a full-time violin teacher at the Arabic Institute of Music. I was at the university trying to collect my diploma, and I did not know how I survived on that day. I can still hear the sound of ambulance and the scream of moms in my ears. Later that day, I remember walking to the Music Institute to teach, not knowing if I would make it back home in the evening, as rockets were falling everywhere randomly. My students and I would regularly hide under the table when we heard the airstrike and missiles hitting a close neighborhood. Every day, we risked our lives by being there. Aleppo used to be a very beautiful and peaceful city, filled with culture and history. It's one of the oldest cities in the world. But after more than 5 years of war, I can no longer recognize my home. A part of me still believes this is all just a dream. I'm finding it extremely difficult to accept that my beloved city is now in ruin. All my life, I have had a great passion for violin. I would risk my life to keep music alive in that city. It was my only way to express my pain and sorrow at what was happening around me. And I still believe that we can create beauty out of suffering. But that day when I went to collect my diploma was the day I realized that I needed to leave inevitably. Death did not scare me, but watching my dreams fading away did. In the following weeks, I was running under bombs falling to internet cafes due to the huge lack of electricity and power in my home. I was determined to send my application to different programs and universities all over the world. After 6 months of tireless work, I was beyond happy to receive an email from Monmouth College in Illinois offering me a full tuition scholarship in music performance. To get to my new school in the US, however, I first had to travel to Beirut to catch a flight to Florida. All the roads from and to Aleppo were closed, and the city was besieged. The next day, our neighbor advised us to go to an area in Aleppo where private buses gather to pick up passengers. But it would be at our own risk, as these buses are not affiliated with any company. I had to say yes, because my flight ticket had already been booked, and I did not know if I would ever get a second chance. The trip to Beirut took us 17 hours. Normal days, it's not more than 5 or 6. Over than 50 checkpoints of soldiers along the way. At many of them, they thought the violin case was a gun. I had to prove it was not, so they would make me to open the violin case, pick up the violin, and inspect it. The bus driver got lost in an area where I could not see anything apart from destroyed building. A couple of days after I arrived to the US, I found out that 3 buses had been completely bombed trying to take the same route. And people I know, including my doctor from Aleppo, were killed. It turned out that the road had become a target for snipers. My violin and I made it safely to the US. The time at Monmouth College was one of the best experiences of my life. The small liberal arts school and the entire community opened their arms and hearts to welcome 19 Syrian students. It was life-changing for each one of us, and we are immensely grateful. It's now 4 years later. Although I feel safe here, I live in a constant fear about my family and friends who are still struggling and surviving without the basic necessities of life. Last November, our neighbor, a girl of 17-year-old, was killed by rocket falling. An hour before that, she had phoned my mom to invite her for coffee and visit. Fortunately, my mom had been asleep and she couldn't pick up the phone. She was saved by a miracle. For many years, my father had to go to the adjacent neighborhoods in search of wells to get water. Every day, I wonder if they will be alive tomorrow, and I wonder if I will be reunited with them someday. Being a refugee in the US taught me a lot. To be strong, independent, and among all, to never give up. I thought that coming to the US was my dream. When I arrived, I realized that the dream was just beginning. I feel I have an obligation to always do my best to give something back to all people who supported me. I graduated from Monmouth College in 2015, and I received another full tuition scholarship for the Master of Music program at DePaul University. And I graduated last June. I was hoping for my mother to come attend my graduation, but sadly, she couldn't even get visa to visit here. Meanwhile, I'm truly grateful to have received the opportunities to speak and perform on behalf of Syrian students and refugees at so many venues, such as the Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, Harvard, MIT, among many others. I was humbled to be honored at the White House as Champion of Change by President Obama. And I feel this is a huge responsibility. I would like to be an ambassador for my country, Syria, in the US, and conversely, represent all the great values I learned here, worldwide. Today, I consider myself as not just a Syrian citizen, but also new loyal and devoted young American woman. Global forced displacement is at an all-time high. Over than 65 million people are displaced now around the world. That's equivalent to the population of California and Texas combined. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, helps those who have been forced to flee their homes by providing protection, food, water, medical care, and other life-saving assistance. I'm so proud to be a high-profile supporter for the UN Refugee Agency. My role is to show people that refugees are normal people who have dreams and ambitions like me. They are not a burden, but displaced people who are eager to find a second chance, an opportunity. We really need to include, not to exclude. Here in the US, USA for UNHCR is the only organization dedicated to raising awareness and funds for UNHCR and its partners. I would like to thank the United States and all Americans for the compassion and support they have always shown toward refugees and to me when I first arrived in Illinois. Refugees have always been an integral part of the fabric of this country. I feel powerless to change the current tragedy ongoing in my country, politically and socially. But I believe so much in the power of music to remove barriers between people and nations. Music is the bridge which has saved my life and helped opening fascinating doors for the flourish of my career. When you lose your home, music is all what left to tell the story of that suffering country and people. I would like to conclude with a very special music piece to my heart, Meditation from Thais by Massenet. I hope music will one day help healing the pain our world has felt and create peace platform for everyone. Thank you.